Hey geeks! Alright, so today, last night we saw Ant-Man.
Yes, very good movie.
Yes.
Surprised.
This is going to be our non-spoiler review. Later on, probably later in the week, we will be releasing our Ant-Man full of spoilers review via podcast.
Yes.
We will most likely be releasing that on our Facebook page.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. Especially when you get to hear us actually break things down specifically to the story.
There's actually a lot to talk about from this movie, which is very surprising because myself and a lot of people going in, I don't think we expected much from the movie itself.
I can honestly, legitimately say I went into this movie with zero expectations and was pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Alright, so let's break it down. We're going to actually break it down into about 5 categories. This is pretty much the categories we'll be using for any movie review from here on out. So first
maybe even shows. We'll have to see if it
maybe shows. It depends on how that works.
That's a little bit more tricky, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. So first thing we're going to start off with the overall story. I think they actually pulled off the overall story. I think they kept true to the feel of Ant-Man canon. I don't know that they necessarily got every little bit right.
Yeah, I don't know if they did either. Not always the biggest with Ant-Man. I know a little bit about his comics and everything.
The guy who actually wrote the screenplay was originally slated to direct it, and due to some issues with production or whatever, he stepped out.
Yeah,
they still used his script, though. He has been writing this script, like, forever. At least a decade. This was a passion project. And honestly, I think you can tell that from watching the thing. I love the fact that Hank Pym, who was the original Ant-Man, is in it.
Yes, it wasn't just thrown in brand new guy.
And they reference that. They didn't just straight up jump to
it was almost kind of like passing on a legacy kind of story.
Yeah. Actually, that's probably a fair analogy for that.
And I thought it worked really well because, I mean, if they tried to stick with Hank Pym, I don't think people would have
and I think
that maybe necessarily.
And
also, time-wise, he's too old.
Yeah. To move on to the next one actually has to do with what I was going to say. Acting is our next category. I actually loved Michael Douglas as Hank.
I liked Michael Douglas, and Paul Rudd was actually surprisingly well for this role. Like I like Paul Rudd, and I have no problem with him at all. He's very funny. I was
kind of shaky about him being a superhero.
Yeah, I didn't know how he'd be as a superhero. When you tell me that, it's like saying Will Ferrell's going to play Green Arrow or something, you know.
Or Green Lantern.
Yeah, the Green Lantern, yeah.
It's like, well, you can't make that movie any worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved Michael Douglas in this as Hank Pym. I'm not a huge Michael Douglas fan. I think his best movies were actually probably back in the day, like Romancing the Stone kind of stuff. That era.
Falling Down.
His movie. As he got older, it kind of got a little weirder, and I didn't really care for his
with that whole Al Pacino route.
Yeah,
except it didn't work for him.
Yeah. But he actually does excellent in this role, especially because you get to see him kind of younger in the very beginning, which is
nice. They kind of do like a CGI.
I don't know if they aged him down or if they just aged him up for Hank Pym.
I think they did the whole Jeff Bridges Tron thing.
Oh, that's creepy. Well, they pulled it off in this movie.
Yeah, they did.
Evangeline Lilly played Hope Pym.
Yeah, I wasn't so pleased with her. I don't know if it was her,
right? Like,
or what they gave her to work with. She was I think it was wooden. Like,
yeah,
you know, it was a little.
She felt
pushed.
The way her character felt, and I think it was just the way that she was directing it. Is that it was almost bipolar. It was almost like 1 minute she's just a hard ass, you know, and then the next minute.
There was,
and it's like, what the
no middle ground, like ease me into this kind of thing.
And
too much emotion.
There's certain things I feel like her character, it was too easy for her character to accept.
Yeah, it really was.
You know what part of it.
Yeah, and we'll get into those more with our podcast.
Yeah, and then there's other parts where it was like she was so rigid about it, and it's like, this makes no sense. But she did all right.
Yeah.
It could have totally been
worse. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad by
shit, it could have been Amy Adams in Superman.
yeah, that's...
Yeah, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
Okay, so effects. That was one of the things I was really anxious about with this movie.
I was wondering.
And I mean anxious in a bad way.
Yeah, I was on the same page as you with that one. I think, at least my take was, how are they going to make this interesting?
How are they going to make it look cool? How's
it going to be cool? Some guy that's going to shrink down to the size of an ant and take out fully grown adults.
Men, yeah.
You know, how's that going to work?
The way they pulled it off, and we're not going to go into detail about it because I don't want to ruin this for anybody, works. And it works very, very well.
Yeah, the fight scenes and everything in this movie were very well done. They were just as action-packed as any other Marvel movie, to be quite honest.
Which also brings us to choreography, which kind of goes hand in hand with the effects in a lot of it. The choreography was executed very well.
Yeah, no, it was.
It was very clean, very concise. The bits with Evangeline Lilly were actually really good when they're in training.
Yeah, when they're doing all
you know, the typical, superhero training montage.
No Rocky music.
No Rocky music. But I feel like that actually was pulled off very well.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I liked it. I didn't see any problems with it really at all. I mean,
no, the effects married to the choreography, they paired it perfectly. Like, they paired it exactly how they would have to make this movie amazing.
Yeah. They did excellent on it. I was very, like I said, going into it, very...
I almost forgot on the acting bit. I'm going to rewind just for a second. I did feel that the humor was slightly misplaced in a couple spots.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was just a writing thing or if it's just how they had them doing it. There's one bit in particular which Loki knows what I'm talking about.
Yet again, one we will be discussing because
yes.
It was pretty...
it was a very poignant moment, and it was broken up by some humor that I felt was somewhat misplaced. And I realized it was to kind of break the tension, probably, but...
yeah, but that wasn't like breaking the tension. This is kind of like, here's this really, like, somber news, and all of a sudden someone's
bonding moment
honks a clown nose or something as an effect to it.
And it just kind of pulls you right out.
Yeah.
Okay, so music.
Okay, so...
they did a fairly good job with the music. There's only one little nitpicky little thing that I feel could have been synced up better. It involves music that goes along with one of the fight scenes. That's actually a really epic fight scene. I found it really enjoyable to watch, but they could have done a better job syncing up the chosen music for it to make it just all the more dynamic. And it was a good music choice. It just the sync up was off.
Yeah, the entire scene was really fun and interesting. A little hectic, I think, the way they had it play out, and it didn't match up with the song very well.
Yeah. I think they could have, if they would have synced the song up a little better, I think it would have been a little more bearable.
Yeah, or possibly, if that's what the scene they wanted, gone with a different music choice, possibly.
That too.
Not that it was a bad song.
No, it's a great song.
Yeah.
I also kind of fail at being able to believe that the villain actually had that on his iPod, but that's just me.
Well, was it really on the? We'll have to look at it again because I don't know if it was on the iPod or was it like one of the streaming services and.
No, because remember he said the words and it goes okay now playing.
Well, yeah, you can do that with like Spotify and stuff on phones.
Maybe I don't know. Anyway, so overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being a total shit fest. And 5 being like, oh my god!
Yeah.
We surprisingly give Ant-Man a 4 out of 5.
Yeah. It's very surprising, like for me.
Yeah, I honestly, I think Marvel is actually knocking it out of the park on these crazy side superhero movies.
Oh, I can't wait till Black Panther. After this, I really can't wait.
I'm actually excited for that. I'm also excited for Doctor Strange because of this movie.
Oh yes, very much so.
Because I want to know, how are you guys going to pull off magic, actual freaking magic in this universe?
It will be very interesting to see that one.
Yeah, because
it'll be very cool.
I'm more honestly, I'm more excited by these side movies right now than the mainstream ones.
Yeah,
than the main grouping.
I am.
Because the side ones, I feel like they have more freedom.
Well, they're actually using them quite well, at least with this one, which we'll get into, to build up to the major ones that they're trying to pinpoint.
And I like that. Of course, we're gonna go see the other ones and the main stuff, Civil War and the rest of those. But no, I'm actually way more excited about the side projects.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to them a lot.
Also, side note, before we let you guys go, make sure you stay through the credits. There is a end of credits scene in the middle of the credits, and then there's one at the very end. Both are very important, and they should get you excited.
Very much so.
So we give it a 4 out of 5. We loved this movie. I actually think I enjoyed this one more than I enjoyed Guardians.
I really did enjoy this one more than Guardians. Guardians was good.
Guardians was great.
But I did enjoy this more than Guardians.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
If I have to personally say, I would say this movie was just a tier below Age of Ultron for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually... well, Age of Ultron, they gave my Hawkeye a lot of love in that movie.
Yeah.
So... I kind of do have to let that one edge out. But Ant-Man, totally worth the money. Go see it.
Yes.
I think you will be pleasantly surprised.
I would say, though, you don't have to see it in 3D or anything.
No, don't waste your money on that.
Good special effects, but nothing that's 3D worthy, in my opinion.
Yeah, so go see it in normal theater, luxury theater, whatever you want. Just go see it. This is a money worth throwing your money at. So...
Yes.
All right, I think that's it.
Yeah.
See us next time. We also saw Inside Out, and we will be talking about some of the trailers released at Comic-Con.
Yes, look forward to that.
We're going to have a DC video followed with an in-depth podcast and a Marvel video followed by an in-depth podcast as well.
Yes.
So, later, geeks!